framework, design and future by Yashwant, Elio and Mizan.
Elio, Jordan, Lucas, and we have Yashwant, we have Mizan with me over here, and today we are going to talk on stablecoin, framework, design, and future. Like a little bit info about us. I'm a founder of a startup. It's a GameFi metaverse project on Cello ecosystem. It's called Into the Verse, and
Hello everyone, I'm Mizan. Me and my teammate Yashwant, we are working on a project called Atomic Pay, which is payment gateway with its own stablecoin. So here we are gonna speak about stablecoin first, and then about all the so why stablecoin and the types of stablecoins that are there in the market, and also the framework and design on how the stablecoin works and the future of stablecoins, like what is going to be the future of stablecoin, how big it's going to be. So yeah, what is stablecoin? When the term stablecoin comes in your mind, the first thing is that it is supposed to be stable, right? Like it's not like some other normal cryptocurrency which is very volatile, right? So here stability matters the most in stablecoin. So stablecoin promises to bridge fiat currencies with the world of cryptocurrencies. So benefit of having a stablecoin is that you have the advantage of digital currencies. Stablecoin is basically pegged to a US dollar, the ratio of which is 1:1. One stablecoin is equal to $1. So yeah, so why the price stability matters is again, now like for example, if you are working in a company, right? So if you are paid through a cryptocurrency, you wouldn't want your salary to be volatile, right? You would want it to be stable. So instead of getting paid in any cryptocurrency, you would either want any stable coin, to be paid, so that you are not afraid of any market turbulence, so that your salary is not like if there is a dump in BTC, if you're paid in BTC, if there's a dump in BTC, you wouldn't want your salary to be like just gone like that. Just like that. So yeah, the use cases of a price stability cryptocurrency, again, developing markets. Like for example, if you are in US or anything, that stablecoin wouldn't matter much. But then when if you go to see in other countries like Argentina or maybe any other country where the inflation rate is almost like around 30%, 50%, you would want a stablecoin which is very stable. And then again, the low volatility crypto asset for traders. Now again, if there's a turbulence in the market, you wouldn't want to cash out your whole investment, and you would want it to like withdraw it and keep it in any stable coin, like for example any USD, any stable coin which is there in that exchange. And then again, the credit debt markets, you cannot have a financial contract using cryptocurrencies. So here again, stablecoin matters and the stability matters of the stablecoin. And the remittance, again here, if you want to do cross-border payments and all, there is like if you have to do INR to any other country or UAE or something. If you want to do in UAE or something, then so then you have to pay a big amount of fees, like around to like some percentage of that cryptocurrency of the currency you want to exchange and send it to your relatives. So here again, if there is a stable coin, you have to pay very minimal fees in any exchanges. Like if you want to transfer your stable coin from one exchange to another exchange.
yeah. So I'm going to be talking about how do we analyze stable coins. Like I'll ask a question like. Alright, I'll tell some of the parameters and then maybe I'll ask you what are the other parameters that you use to like analyze a stable coin. So we have like I've used 5 parameters, that is governance, whether it is centralized or decentralized, reserve, whether it's fully backed over-collateralized, under-collateralized, non-collateralized, and also like the percentage composition of what assets are there in your reserve. We also have primary markets, that is, what is the token, like, how does the token mint event work, or how does the token burn event work? And the reserve management, that is, what is reserve management and how is reserve management conducted? Hello? Yeah. And the last one is the potential to fail. So what would happen and how a run to the bank would be handled. So, yeah. So we've considered this 5. Do you think that you have another valid parameter like to analyze a particular stable coin, like apart from this?
Does reserve take care of the liquidity? Like, is it being audited or not? If it is a centralized stable coin, are we auditing that they really have that liquidity or not? Like, is that some category or?
I think like that is also a good category because most of the centralized stable coins like USDC and USDT, they are like they are independently audited. So we are not quite sure like yeah. So we go to the next slide. So here's a case study of the major stable coins that we have across different ecosystems. And if you look at it, like we have these 5 parameters, and it basically shows us the comparison for each of these stable coins. Like we have the USDC coin, the Tether, USDT, the DAI stable coin by MakerDAO, the Celo dollar by Celo. We also have the USD by Terra and Prex Finance. So we'll get into the governance and the reserve type and collateralization rate later, but we are going to look at the unique aspects of what actually makes this stablecoins better. So the USDC coin, it's regulated in the US, and Tether is almost similar. I mean, they are not so transparent, they are centralized, and they are independently audited. The MakerDAO, they have a mechanism wherein like DAI is issued in the MakerDAO protocol using loans, like through lending and borrowing. They are backed by real asset reserve, that is land, mortgages, etc. So Celo, I use Celo a lot. Like I'm not biased by it, but I'm not biased towards it, but like there are a lot of cool features that the Celo stablecoin has. One is that it has a nature-backed asset in its reserve, that is carbon credits. So they try to track the amount of green assets, real-world assets that are present on Earth, and they try to back the Celo stablecoin using that. So that actually incentivizes their regeneration. And we also have Celo has Celo dollar, Celo euro, Celo real, and they have like adoptions across different countries across the world. And also fees are paid using stable coins as well, like apart from the native asset Celo. We all know about the damage that Terra has caused the industry, and Frex is a partially algorithmic and a partially collateralized stablecoin, so it is very scalable. So going into USDT, it is run by the Circle. It is sorry, there's a mistake over here. It is run by the USDT Foundation. The USDC is run by the Circle Internet Financial Limited. Although it's not so clear in this in the screen, so USDC it's fully backed by USD and its derivatives. We have like a percentage composition of like 24% cash and 76% derivatives. What is the risk factor associated with these stable coins? Although they are like centrally audited and like centralized, when we have like worse conditions in the market, which we haven't seen in a long time, there might be like they are bound to undergo a huge stress level. So tokens are minted when USD is added to the reserve and they are burnt otherwise. It is essential to note that we as users, we lack the transparency of the actual assets which are held in the reserve. DAI. So DAI is coordinated by the MakerDAO through community governance. It is 167% collateralized, that is, we have 1.67 USD in the basket for every $1 worth of DAI. New DAI is minted when people take loans, like whenever they're asking for, if you own like $1,000 of ETH and you're asking for like a loan through margin trading on the MakerDAO protocol, that is when the new DAI tokens are actually minted. And when you repay the loan, these same tokens are actually burned. The risk factor associated with DAI is, since it's backed by Ethereum, like Ether, Bitcoin, is that like when the price of these assets it comes down, one might see a run to the bank. Cello dollar. Cello dollar is governed by the community. It is also a community voting through an open source smart contract stability protocol called as Mento, which is built on Cello. It is 279% collateralized. That is, it has 50% of Cello native assets and 50% of non-Cello native assets. Once USD is minted, when one Cello is burned, and vice versa. And they also have a very unique concept called as dynamic hedging. So what is dynamic hedging? When there is a significant drop in the price of Cello due to market conditions, they also have reserve backed by DAI. So this dynamic hedging, what it does is it basically tries to compensate for the drop in price by increasing the percentage of stable coins. It happens automatically. Also, it is backed by regenerative assets like MOS CO2, MCO2. USD. Governed by Terra, they actually do not have collateral on chain. So the Luna Foundation Guard they own about 15% of the entire USD circulation. That is 3 billion out of the total $19 billion. So you mint 1 USD with $1 Luna, and burning 1 USD mints 1 Luna. So when there is an excess sell pressure in the market for USD, you keep minting excess Luna tokens, and this is the concept that actually caused the DePAC to happen and the entire tragic market event. So I was doing a hackathon recently, and I came across a really good project. It's called Meter.io. So it's a layer 1 blockchain. It's a proof of work blockchain, but they have a unique aspect for for the governance of their stablecoin. The Meter stablecoin is called the Meta stablecoin. It's used for everyday payments, just like how we have USDT or USDC, which are used for payments. They also use as transaction fees, storage fees for the validators who run the network, and they also act as a store of value on the Meter network. So it is completely decentralized, and each meter is created with around 10 kilowatt hours of electricity using secured hashing algorithms. And how is it different from compared to existing stable coins? So existing stable coins, if we see USDT and USDC, we see that they use a lot of collateral, and the collateral which is actually present is only a small percentage compared to the the amount of collateral which is present in the reserve. And they also rely on a lot of centralized oracles. We heard Rahul talking about Chainlink oracles failure. for Venus protocol. So they rely on a lot of centralized oracles. So by centralized oracles, like they don't give enough data, and since like they are limited to only a few resources who provide like the price data on chain. What's unique about Meter stablecoin is that the miners are always incentivized for creating profits on the network, and that happens. So this kind of like a profit-driven behavior, it ties the price of that stablecoin to a fixed range, like a fixed ratio. So the present price of the stablecoin is like $1.65. So it remains in a fixed range because they have it runs. It's a competitive network which relies on like electricity, like a proof of work. But yeah, the competitive price of the electricity is tied to the value of meter, and that in turn creates more purchasing power. So when the price of meter goes up, and the validators or the miners, they are making profits, they are then incentivized to allocate more of their mining power to create more meter tokens. So if the price of the meter token goes up, when they allocate their energy to like mint more tokens, that's when like the price remains stable within that range. So it is like totally decentralized, and it's like one of the most unique aspects like we have in like the stablecoin industry, like in the crypto in crypto today. Another factor I'd like to discuss is like why stablecoins are really important is they really become significant when they have a sufficient amount of like adoption. Like it should really affect people at the ground. Like it should affect people who are at the ground level. Maybe the people who are not banked, like they don't have access to financial institutions, they don't have access to banks. So like at Cello Foundation, in the Cello ecosystem, they take a lot of initiatives to help people gain universal basic income through the Cello stablecoin. That is, they have partnered with so many projects that are facilitating the movement of stablecoins to these people who don't have like smartphones, who are using feature phones. So the blockchain is connected to the mobile networks like M-Pesa, and they try to transfer value to people who are using feature phones. So these stable coins, they get converted to like local currencies like Nigerian naira or the peso, the local currencies, and people are actually able to like create value for themselves like through these utilities. So I really think like stable coins, they become really useful in the market when they are driven by mass adoption, and they impact the lives of like the people who don't even know about, like maybe they don't know about Web3, but it indirectly impacts their lives. So that's all I had to say. Like, do you have any questions before Yashwant takes up?
It's kind of a big question, like subjective question, but what stops someone from creating a INR-based stablecoin? Like, if you were to build one, how will you build one?
That's a question. Like, this is subject to regulations, like in our country. I mean, it's getting built up in 6 months. Like, actually, there was a proposal to do a CINR as well, but like. Well,
6 months.
no, that's a totally different thing.
Yeah.
That's a.
6 months.
Like, what do you think? Like, what stops people from not going for an INR-based stablecoin?
Value of demand, no?
Yeah, it basically depends on if there is actual demand. Because if you look at countries like Brazil or Argentina, since they have a lot of inflation in their country, they are actually making use of stable coins like C-Real or Cello dollars, and they are actually able to like purchase like daily use items using the technology. So I think like it's a game of supply and demand in general. So
I think we have more builders in India than users in India.
yeah, we do have, but yeah, we also have to comply to the regulations in our country. So like this is it's an open question, I would say.
So hi guys, I'm Yashwant and I'll be presenting on the algorithmic stablecoins. So this is our friend Bozak. So wherever you'll find yield and opportunities to get wrecked in crypto, you'll find him. So everyone remembers what happened with Luna, right? So what happened with the Luna was, so basically what Luna does is, so there is no collateral for you. So see, the reason you need a collateral is suppose there is a trustability part tomorrow. If someone wants to redeem, then the collateral is used. For example, if I give you 500 rupees right now, will you go to the Reserve Bank of India and you will ask them to give you some proportional gold or bond to it? You will never go because actually it's a sound money. You trust that money, right? So when we talk about the dual coin model, so what we do is, so there are two coins. Take for example, one is stable coin, the other is volatility coin. So what happens here is, if you are minting one stable coin, right, so you are burning same proportion of volatility coin on top of it. So what happens here is, so take for example, there is a pool A that consists of 1000 Luna and 1000 volatility coin. So if more Luna is extracted, the more Terra will get burned to give the value of this to here. So what is the main purpose of volatility coin is, so what happens when there is a peg, okay? So if you are maintaining a peg, you have to always achieve a target. If you are pegging in Indian currency with rupees, you have a peg ratio of 1. If you are going with dollars, right, so you have a peg ratio of $1. So what happens there is, if you are depegging, okay, so there are two things when you are depegging. One, suppose if you are going for centralized version, for example, you have a treasury in the central bank that is of US dollars. So what you will do is, when you are depegging, right, you will go and buy some more US dollars, you put on the collateral, and that's how you are going to achieve your stability part. But when we talk about volatility coin, so why we need a volatility coin is what? So what is the problem with the collateral? So take for example, the problem with collateral, if you are scaling, right, so suppose there is a market demand of 100 billion in stablecoins right now. You have to buy 100 billion worth of collateral and then you have to mint your coin. So there's a problem of what? You are buying a collateral to mint your own coin. So there is always a high cap. You cannot reach above that because, take for example, DAI. So DAI is an over collateralized coin, right? That is 150%. So take for example, like today the market capitalization of Ethereum is like $200 billion. So if there is a market demand of $300 billion of a stable coin, take for example DAI, it cannot go above 200 billion because the collateral, the market cap of collateral is only 200 billion. So if you are taking entire supply of Ethereum and minting your own coin, right, you go out of Ethereum. How are you gonna do the surplus demand which is there in the market? So everyone remembers what happened with the Luna, the 18 billion crash that happened was. So the third coin which we are talking about is basis protocol. So that is a triple coin model. So what happens in that triple coin model is, so one coin is a stable coin, that is basis. The another coin is a bond coin, and the third coin is a share coin. So what happens in this architecture is, so it is like same, okay, one is volatility coin and the other is a stable one. But what happens here is, so one bond coin is always redeemable for one basis. So what happens is that, suppose tomorrow there is a depeg in basis. So from $1 it goes down to 0.9. So there is an arbitrage for you, that is 0.1. So what you will do is, you will buy bond coins, there will be an auction, you are buying bond coins that are redeemable for one basis. So you are making an arbitrage of $0.1 per coin you are buying, right? But what happens here is, so it takes time, okay? It takes like a week for you to reach your collateral peg target price. But when you add another layer of coin, that is the third coin. So what you do there is, so once all the bond tokens are redeemed and auctioned off, still you have not reached your the target price. So what you do is, you mint more bases and you give them the person who is holding your share tokens. So by that what you do is, you just dampen your the pace. For example, if you have only 2 coins, right, you have to mint more bond tokens because there is a limit on the bond tokens because they are burned, they are recreated in the market. So what are the common characteristics of algorithmic coins? So first is fully on-chain minus oracles, because when you talk about the coins like DAI, they don't use any data feeds because there is already a peg. You have to achieve the peg, right? So there is no collateral which will give you the data feed of it, like you have to achieve this price. So when we talk about the algorithmic peg mechanism, that is the another one is Ampleforth and Frex. So that is zero and zero and no. So what Frex does is, that's a very good thing. What Frex is doing is, so what Frex does is, take for example, you have like one Bitcoin, okay. So the value of one Bitcoin is $10,000. So you are going on the Frex protocol and you are minting $10,000 of Frex. So what they do is they decollateralize as the market stable. So take for example, the collateral proportion right now is 80% in Bitcoin, 20% their governance token, that is Frex governance. Okay. So what they do is, suppose today, take for example, for the dampened period of 3 to 4 weeks, the market is stable, the peg is achieved. So what they do is, they slowly decollateralize the whole collateral. Like from 80%, they will go for 70% BTC and 30% governance. So what you are doing is, you are maintaining the 100% collateral part, but you are trading between those collateral, means you are taking it, because see, Frex is not backed by anything, the governance token. It is the project. If you are minting, it is giving you the value. So when the time comes, take for example from right now 5 to 6 years, so the collateral part will go down to 0 and Frex will come to 100. So there is no issue for it for scalability part, because what if you are taking Ethereum as a collateral, you will never scale, because Ethereum is a volatile coin. You want a stable coin. So there is an inverse relationship between your volatility coin and stable coin. So there is a rich coin. It's good for the market, it's good for the DeFi, but on a longer scale, if say, right now everyone is a Web3, right? So Web3 is a very niche market compared to the total global population. If you actually want a stable coin, right, we need Web2 people on board. Take for example, I have booked this hotel hall, okay. How will I pay them? I won't pay them in USD, I won't pay the US dollars. They want to be paid in a currency that is stable and that is back of their whole region, the demographic part. Because there are 10,000 stablecoins out in the market, 10,000. You don't want to get paid in 10,000 different coins when there is only one single unified payment solution that's share the same purpose on top of it. So now, right now I'll be explaining you about the new era of stablecoins. Okay, so there is one protocol which is named as UXD, Lemma, and Reflexer. So what UXD does is, so when you talk about UXD, right, so they use delta neutral options. So right now, what delta neutral means it, you people are familiar with options market, right, the futures market. So what is a delta? So it's the term is little bit controversial. So what we mean by delta is, what is the proportion of change in price of a derivative with your collateral? Take for example, if your delta is 1. So if there is a change of price in BTC that is like a 1%, your collateral, your derivative will move by 1%. So if your delta is 2, the twice the pace. So that's just for the futures part. So what UXD does is, suppose you have like 10 Ethereum, you will go with the UXD protocol, you'll put them in a vault. So what we will do is, so see, you have a spot Ethereum. So what is the meaning that you have a spot Ethereum? It means you are long on Ethereum, okay? Because you are holding in a spot market. What they will do is, they will give that as a collateral to any protocol and they will put a short position on top of it. So if tomorrow Ethereum goes up or down, you are hedged against the position, because it is a delta neutral, right? So it's like you will never get liquidated. So the collateral is never issue. But the problem here again comes of the scalability. If your collateral is never growing, you will never scale. And another problem, like that's a bit on the higher level, that is negative funding rates. So whenever the market is negative funding rates, you have to pay those negative funding rates. So that will come on the cost of the protocol itself. So the another thing what we call is lemma finance, that is also similar. They also use your TV and the total value lock to mint their stable coins. Right now what Aave is doing with their ghost stable coin. So the another very interesting part is like reflexer, okay. So what we do by reflexer is, so there are reflexer bonds, okay. So what are reflexer bonds? So reflexer bonds are reflexer indices that are not pegged to anything. If you are not pegging to anything, you don't have any target. For example, US dollars. What US dollar is pegged to? Nothing. It's pegged to nothing. So US dollar don't have to achieve any price, okay. So what reflexer bond does is, you take, so reflexer bond has a collateral but is not pegged to anything. So it is a dampened movement between your collateral and your asset. So what we do in a reflexer bond, you suppose you have like Ethereum, or you go for Solana, anything you go for. So you go in the bond token, you mint your token on top of it, but there is no target price for it. But here what the problem is, what you cannot use something which is not pegged for a derivative or for anything. Take for example, right now suppose you are buying one Bitcoin. The price is like $22,000, okay? So why the price of Bitcoin is $22,000? What you are comparing with? You're comparing with US dollars. If you're coming in India, you know that one US dollar is like 75 rupees, okay? But if there is no target price for you, if there is no base currency, how you will know that what is the price of BTC? How you will calculate the price of BTC compared to what? Because there is no unit of account and there is no stability form which it has to achieve. Then what are the future directions? So what we thought about in our atomic pay, what is so like, just stabilize the payment part. If you are paying someone, right, just stabilize the payment mechanism itself. By making a central entity on top of it, that will only stabilize the payment from one merchant to another. Then stabilizing to a CPI. So when we talk about CPI, so basically what CPI is a consumer price index. So take for example, there is a basket of 10 goods. You can take rice, you can take wheat, or you can take any other consumer products. So take for example, in a month, the CPI is like 7.5% or 8%. So what you do here is, if you have like $1,000 in a coin, take for example, stablecoin A. So what we'll do is, if in a month there is an inflation rate of 8%, even your wallet will be inflated by 8%. So by that you are always finding equilibrium when you are purchasing power. If it goes down by 8%, there is an algorithm which will set it again. So there is like a dampened way between your collateral and other thing. Because at the end of the day, you're earning your money. You will spend it, right? So if we dampen the way on the CPI data, so then, but the problem with CPI data is what? It is calculated monthly. So you cannot rely on a monthly data. It should be like a basis protocol, means like, it's a work for Oracle data to get the data on feed, then the logistics part. For example, it also depends on the demographics, okay? So if India is producing more rice, the India's CPI will depend on the price of the rice. If you're going in Africa and they're producing more wheat, their CPI will depend on the wheat, because those are like the consumer products. Then a regional stable coin for each regional economy. So as Bharat said, right, why there is no a stable coin on Indian markets? The problem is what? You are getting an INR, okay? You have to recalculate every protocol. Compound has to come with his own front end that will be calculated in INR that is producing Indian markets. It's like 1-to-1 ratio, right? So when we talk about a regional stablecoin for each regional economy, each economy differs in their own price, differs in their own protocol. So regional economics will what? If I'm in India, if I'm paying you, I don't want to pay you in US dollars or USD. I want to pay you something which is pegged to Indian assets. That is 1 rupee to 1 rupee. So what you can do is creating a whole demographics based on the regions. For example, if it is in India, it will be calculated in INR. If you go in Europe, it will be in euros and all. Then another is pegged to other assets and TBA. Pegged to other assets, for example, you can take stocks, you can take bonds, any other assets and all. I think we are running out of time. Done. Any questions? Yeah. So there is not exactly one favorite design for anything, but what we think is, if you want to achieve scalability, right, go for algorithmic stablecoins, because what algo does is, everything depends on the whole market. See, the best thing about the algorithmic coins are what? They track the data on chain. So if in the future we get mass adoption in crypto, right? So it's not a hard part for you to get on-chain part and go with it, because we need algo stablecoin because of the central part. You know what happened with the tornado case right now? Because of the USDC thing. They just sanctioned all the wallets that hold the USDC because of those parts. So we need a completely decentralized algorithmic stablecoin if you're going out in the market. Because centralized, see, USDT and USDC are just wrapped version of US dollars. So whatever there are the coins of US dollars, you are getting that on chain. So that's not a very good model to go with. Another with.
Do you think that the Terra Luna chain, the entire ecosystem, was only from the beginning, or was it a good system that just could not handle the stress?
So the Terra Luna was, right, so it was actually a good system, okay. So Terra was actually a brilliant coin, but Luna was a bad debt. So what happened with them was, so there was a proposal for going with the 3 pool, adding another asset that was BTC. So right, 90% of the Terra was locked on Anchor. You are getting like 20% yield on it, okay. So what was the main reason of Terra going down was because of there was a coordinated attack of 300 million on Curve Finance, where the people saw the yield opportunities. But what happened? See, Luna would have actually survived if the recovery plan was good, because Luna, when it was the first crash, it was like on so during Solana Hacker Hours, I guess, 11th or 12th. So it came down to $0.6. So the reason it fall, it was not because of all the various. It is because of the trust. People never trusted that they can mint because. Yeah.
So when this around the finance,
Yeah.
right? Like as a stable coin, we need to work on the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario, the best case scenario should be really close to each other, right? So from that perspective, algorithmic stable coins, worst case scenario is going down to 0, right? USDC, the only worst case scenario is a liquidity crunch.
Yeah.
That's the CP paper, the commercial wallets, 14-day, 16-day, whatever they hold on their balance sheet. Maybe yeah, you are not able to withdraw for 14 days. But in algo coins, it goes to 0, right?
No, the reason it is there are other algorithmic coins too, like DAI. DAI was an algo coin, so even DAI lost its peg like 0.9 but 1. But the problem with the Luna was, so I don't have much time, but I can talk you about the death spiral part, which everyone focusing on it. Because so there was a whole arbitrary situation when it comes to the Luna, because everyone knew, even everyone knew like 1 or 2 months prior that there is a death spiral problem in it. So it was basically a problem with the proposal team, I guess, from the Terra community. They didn't highlight the problem because there are like coins like Basis Protocol, they never lost its peg. Then there are like DAI is there, so they never lost its peg. So yeah, so Elio or any other?
Take it off.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.